Quick bit about me. I'm a rising senior at CU Boulder studying computer science. I'm Colorado native, born and raised. I love computer science. I love computers. I love Linux, open source software. I'm kind of a geek. So I worked as a software development intern during my summer. So I worked on the backend for our state of health software. Now, our state of health software is what we use to determine the health for the stations in our GPS network. And the health of a station requires sort of three different parameters. We look at when we last talked to the station, when we last archived a file from the station, and our last data we received. And the way we get all this data is through a process called Dataflow. And so I know Dataflow means different things to different people, but I was going to explain it from my perspective, working with individual stations. So this is our station, Lisa. And Lisa is busy generating data all the time. And Dataflow goes out and reaches out to these stations and grabs data. From there, it puts it somewhere in our system, and then other teams at UNAVCO can go out, grab that data, process it, and do whatever they need to do. So this is great, and this allows state of health to work because it records data for when we last reached out to each of our stations, when we last grabbed files, things like that. The problem is this doesn't always work and isn't always the case for every station. And a good example of that is CN01. So CN01 is a station on the island of Antigua. And if you go look at that station right now, it's marked as unknown. So we actually don't know the health of the station. The problem with that is we actually still get data from the station. We're actively receiving data and we're actively processing it and archiving it so that everyone can use it. So this doesn't really make sense. It should be marked as healthy. So what we can determine about this station is it's outside of Dataflow. It's not being actively included in that system. And that's kind of an issue. The reason that's an issue is, well, we might try and go send someone to go look at that station and figure out if something's wrong, even though everything's fine. And that'll cost money, that'll cost time, it'll waste the engineer's time, and that's something we want to avoid. And we also want to have an accurate map to show people. So I worked to fix that. My goal was to build software that would account for all of these stations and make sure we have a properly displayed map. And the way I did that was with Python, our FTP server, and a ton of caffeine. So just explaining how my software works. We have a database called the pod. This includes all of the information about different stations and everything that I need to know to work with. So from there, I go grab all the stations that are outside of Dataflow, including Lisa over there. I go check if we have data from each of these stations on our FTP server. I check if that data is healthy, and what that means is if it's within a certain date range. If we got data in the past 2 or 3 days or so, that'd be a healthy station. And then from there, I update that on the pod, and that gets updated on our map. So these are all the stations in CocoNet and TlaloCnet that are marked as either unknown or failed. So these are all the stations that we've determined we're not getting data from or something's wrong. After my software has been tested and implemented, the map looks like this. So there's a couple of green dots there. Hooray! It's not a ton of stations, but it's enough that we do want to have an updated and accurate map. So that's my software working. Now, so this is an internship. And one of the important things about internships is we get to learn a ton. And I learned a lot at my time at UNAVCO. It was an amazing experience to get to work with Doug Ertz and all the IT group and the software development group here. And it was a wonderful experience. And I got to learn technical skills like working in IDEs and text editors on a production level, getting to do version control on an organizational wide scale, learning test-driven development and unit testing, and working with Python and all these new libraries I'd never seen before. And then there's some fancy workplace skills But I actually did learn a lot, and that was one of the bigger things I learned here was interpersonal communication skills. I actually had an example with Doug Ertz, where he was, I had been working on a problem for about a week or so and wasn't really getting anywhere. And I was too afraid to ask for help. And Doug stopped by my desk, and I brought up my issue, and he gave me a solution and off the top of his head in 10 seconds, like, oh, just do that, and walked away. And so I really got to learn a little bit of humility with reaching out to people and asking for help when I needed it. And that was wonderful. So to wrap up my little conclusion here, I helped our map, and I learned to talk to people. So thank you all. It's been a wonderful internship. Thank you, Aisha, for setting up the internships and managing everything. It was a wonderful time here. Thank you, Doug Ertz. I don't see, he's somewhere here. Yeah, he's way in the back. Thank you for being my mentor while I've been here. Thank you to all the interns in UNAVCO. It's been a wonderful summer. Thank you all.